Welcome to Podtopia Insider, the podcast powered by Podtopia Network. Whether you're launching your first show or leveling up an existing one, we've got expert insights and recommendations to help you create, distribute, and monetize with ease. I'm Joe Massa, your guide to navigating the best tools and strategies to grow your podcast. Are you ready to optimize and streamline your show? Let's dive in. Hey Podtopia Insiders, Joe Massa here from Podtopia Network, and I'm thrilled today to have one of my not only preferred partners in our network, but also a good friend that I've worked with for a while now. He is the CMO of Casa Leo Pet. He is also the founder of Grow Wild Agency. He's an SEO specialist. Mr. Kaden Ewald, how are you today? Thank you for joining me on Podtopia Insider.
I'm doing well, thank you, Joe. Awesome to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the guys that does the work that you don't typically see, not necessarily the content creator. It's the behind the scenes, under the hood SEO, which is, of course, search engine optimization techniques that are going to help your content get found in major search engines. Not only the big players that you think of like Google, Yahoo, Bing, not that most people are using Yahoo and Bing anymore, but still very powerful. But even now on an AI level, when you're talking about the search engines for things like ChatGPT and Claude, and obviously we'll get into that a little bit more with Kaden. But first and foremost, how did you kind of fall into being an SEO strategist, and what do you see the trends, and how is this building out your current business with both Casa Leo Pet and Grow Wild Agency?
Well, I got into the SEO market by working for a couple companies in the cannabis and hemp space where we weren't traditionally allowed to use traditional marketing techniques. We can't access a lot of the paid channels that you do have access to as a conventional business. And now I've seen that the low-hanging fruit is in SEO for most other industries. There's a lot of open road there for almost every other industry. It's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and definitely when it comes to podcast, there's over 4.4 million podcasts worldwide. We have close to 580 million people tuning into those shows, and most of them are going to find those shows via the big search engines, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So although SEO is really important to pretty much any business, where do you see, like, can video podcasting help with SEO, and how can a podcast increase your SEO presence in the online space?
Well, podcasts do give an authoritative backlink to your website, to your web presence. They also reflect a lot of, or consume a lot of traffic related to the keywords and the key topics that they focus on. Like we've talked about a lot in the past, LLMs are just a layer two. They operate on top of existing interfaces like Bing, Yahoo, Yandex, Google. And we do have the same type of search algorithm inside of podcasts to suggest to people what they should be watching. And it's really important as a content creator, if you want to create podcasts that are SEO optimized, to do the research beforehand and really understand what it is you're trying to accomplish with it, who you're trying to get in front of, what they're searching for. It's a mix of a couple different strategies and things, but it works to get our podcasts and content in front of people.
And I'm assuming that there's different sort of criteria and algorithm work that you do behind the scenes, depending on the platform that you're working with, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, or like an LLM, which is large language models for those unfamiliar, like ChatGPT or Claude. Is it pretty similar as far as how you go about doing your work, or are each of them their own unique strategy that takes like time to prep and get ready for the actual work done on that platform?
So a lot of the podcast publishing positions are done with plain text. When it comes to your own website, the robot text and actually inviting the different Claude or ChatGPT to index your content is really important, and a lot of people leave restrictions on and don't really understand what it is to allow or to open the door for LLMs and search engines to see your content. Most people who aren't ranking today, it's not an issue with their content, it's an issue with the permissions that they give and the cues that they give to those search engines. But when it comes to publishing podcasts, when it comes to publishing YouTube videos, that's all done in plain text, and it's just a matter of knowing your keywords, knowing your market, and really coming up with a plan or a strategy of the content that you're publishing so that you aren't cannibalizing the same content and the same topics that you keep publishing over and over.
Yeah, so the search engine optimization, what exactly are the benefits of this? Obviously, you're going to boost your discoverability, attract the right target audience, but what are some of the things that most people just don't understand about it that is a really good reason why you should engage in good SEO practices?
Well, I think that, skipping over good SEO practices, there's nothing wrong with it. You're just not going to show up. You're just wasting your efforts and your energy. When it comes to it, it's ultimately, what is your goal? If you're creating content for the purpose of getting in front of people or the purpose of educating people, actually knowing your topic and knowing what it is that you want to be known for is really, really important. And that's where I've spoken with you about this a dozen times, Joe. We map out and then we plan and perform the awareness research. So it's kind of a MAP acronym, MAP awareness plan. And what we do is we really dive into all of the topics in the industry, in the niche, in the area that you want to be known in, and come up with a strategy or a plan before you just start spraying and praying and publishing random content. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. It's just one of those things that obviously that's sort of a strategy on how you guys do it, but it makes perfect sense. You do want to obviously map out what you're doing before you plan it and start to actually execute that. But I think there's this misconception about really what it is. You know, there are certain things that you do optimize, like keywords. Like you want to make sure if you're talking about podcast, you include the word podcast. Yeah. But being too generic or too niche down then is sort of counterintuitive. But that's not the only thing that you would SEO optimize, from my understanding, correct? There's the metadata and descriptions. There's transcripts and written content, your backlinks, your titles, things that maybe get overlooked because everyone's doing the hashtag podcast guest. But those aren't the only things that would require good SEO strategy. Is that correct?
Yeah, you and I've talked about that. So, for instance, Google started penalizing keyword stuffing. So in a competitive SEO space for Google rankings with your business, you don't want to stuff all your keywords onto one page. It used to be a strategy where businesses would take every keyword in their space, just put it in the footer of their homepage and leave them all there. And they'd actively rank for those topics. We can do the same thing with podcasts, and we found that podcast providers, Apple and so on, don't really penalize for that. So you can take and keyword stuff your transcription or your captions and add into the transcriptions of the podcast. So there's all sorts of different strategies there. When it comes to the meta descriptions and all of that, what you really want to do is make sure you have a focused niche, a focused topic. For instance, this podcast, obviously, we're talking about podcast SEO. So two of our main keywords are, can a video podcast help SEO, and how can a podcast increase SEO? So we really want to make sure that the audience is aware, appraised of the topics here, understand that, hey, a video podcast can help SEO. The way it helps SEO is it drives organic traffic back to your website. When you have great content on your website, you're going to reduce your click-through rate and you're going to perform better. And that's how a podcast can increase your overall SEO, not just your podcast SEO, but your podcast SEO is something over and above that you kind of do beforehand, where we came up with a couple of these keywords that have a lot of search volume and a low difficulty to rank for, because there's not a lot of content creators creating content around it. So, yeah.
So, as an expert on SEO yourself, you're using much more of the professional grade tools, the SEMrush, you're doing the agency account, so you have a lot more access to this information. Not to mention the skill set and experience to like go through it and really know what it means. But like for just the average Joe, what's like a good tool for people to find those? Is it like Moz keyword finders? Is there like something you would suggest for people to play around with just to get an understanding of it?
Well, SEMrush does have a free account that will give you 10 queries per day. So you can go jump on, look through SEMrush, find your 10 keywords, and really dive into the topic that you want to focus on. But my suggestion for you always, Joe, is create a FigJam board, create a Miro board, anything like that where you can really map things out. Start with your business, start with your URL, create a branch and say, hey, here's a podcast, and this podcast speaks about podcast SEO. And then our next podcast, hey, this podcast talks about how SEO helped XYZ business, and reinforce your authority on that topic. You'll start to see traffic that gets driven to your website from that podcast when you publish a blog on that topic, and you have the same keyword research. You can use the same topics, you can build on your on-page SEO. And what you'll find with Google Search Console is Google Search Console will start kicking back these other topics that you ranked for, and you'll be able to compound from there. So it's really cheap, Joe. It doesn't cost anything to access Google Search Console, and then Google will kind of queue up your next idea for you, and your next idea, things that you wouldn't even necessarily think about. That's where we've come to the point where we have all sorts of different strategies, us versus them, this versus that, different ideas on how you can rank above your competitors for the same keywords as your competitors, for branded keywords, for other keywords. But you'll learn the jargon if you get into it. It's not difficult, and it's free if you're not trying to generate hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of impressions or clicks per day.
So as the founder of Grow Wild Agency, obviously this is your day-to-day job. But what I really love about your story is the Casa Leo Pet angle. Now, this is a company that Kaden came in to become the chief marketing officer for, and he did it in a way, basically found a deficiency in their SEO strategy, came in and really showed them what they were missing, and they said, not only are you so amazing at this, why don't you come on board to our team and help us create this? So tell me a little bit quickly about how you changed their digital presence and like sort of using your own method, how you were able to really beef up their digital marketing.
Yeah, that's clear, or pretty easy. So one of my favorite SEO strategies for any new business is write an us versus them article about every single one of your competitors, highlighting their best glowing components and their deficiencies and how you rank or stack up against them. If you write that about all your competitors, you're going to have a phenomenal market awareness. And basically what I did with Casa Leo Pet is I started with a company called Paradise.com. I created this cat store. I started selling products from Alibaba, and I started ranking for a keyword, Leo's Loo 2, and I had no clue that this was even a word. It just came up with one of the products I pulled from Alibaba. It was in the description already. I started ranking like 2, 3, 4th on Google for Leo's Loo 2. I bought the domain leosloo2.com. I saw it was available, registered the trade name, and then found out that this registered trade name has been used by Casa Leo Pet for the past 5, 6, 9 years. And well, they started with the Leo's Loo and then went on to the Leo's Loo 2 about 4 years ago. Anyway, I bought this domain. The founder of Casa Leo Pet called me after I had this website going. I was ranking at the top of the search engine for this topic. I was just kicking into the first position. I was selling $10,000 to $12,000 a month worth of these litter boxes, and he just told me that my approach was unethical, and I kind of told him he could pay me and buy this domain from me, but instead of doing that, he told me that he wasn't going to pay somebody who was acting unethically, and he was going to hold his ethical ground and hope that my attitude changed. And it didn't really for a couple months, and I called him back 3 months later and I said, hey man, I'm just not feeling good about this. I want to do something more ethical and find a better way to do business. So I gave the domain Leozoo2 to them, and the related domains that I had purchased. I sent over the trade name registration with Leozoo2 incorporated in Canada, and he offered me a position as their chief marketing officer. It's been an awesome ride. We increased their merchant center positions incredibly. We saw 1900% increase in merchant center impressions, and over a 1700% increase in merchant center clicks in the first 3 months, and then we saw a 1500% increase in the fourth month over and above that. So that was really cool. We were able to really help them out, and now we're going through a fundraise with them and launching a bunch more top of funnel work and really boosting their overall productivity.
And the other story I really like about that, and first of all, two things. I really love how you worded that. You wanted to change it and be a little more ethical in how you approached it. And just by doing that simple gesture, you also created now a long-standing partnership and created a role for yourself at a company that you had no affiliation with. So kudos to that in general. But I know from our previous conversations, when you were doing some AI searching about like the most quiet and most large size capacity for these, they're like these super cat litter boxes. And when you were searching through those, you were getting your competitor's product. The only issue with that is that wasn't the correct answer. Your product was actually larger and more quiet, so lower decibels. And based on your work with SEO, you were able to go in there and get that sort of algorithmically changed in their search engines to now give the proper information.
Well, that's where awareness is key. You can't actually change the way that search engines see your product or your business without understanding what search engines are currently highlighting. For instance, the litter robot was appearing as the largest waste drawer in the industry, while ours is 6% bigger at a 9.5 liter compared to their 9 liter litter drawer. They're claiming better odor control when we actually have the carbon filters and things in our odor tray or our litter trays that do control odor better than theirs. So there's all these different components and things that you really get an understanding of when you look at LLM responses that you're able to then take and highlight in future press and in the descriptions and things you use about your product. It's a lot easier to describe a product to somebody when you understand what it is that they're looking for and what it is that they're that is being highlighted in other products. With LLMs and search engines, they're designed to provide the best answer. And if the best answer is wrong, you're obligated to appraise it of a better answer. And all you have to do is present that in a way that's indexable and relevant.
And I think this would probably loop back into what you said earlier, not only about your website, but like creating a visualization through like Miro or Figma, something where you can actually see what you're talking about. Probably very valuable for your products or courses or whatever you sell, whether it's a coaching program. You need to know what you have at your disposal, and then also what your competitors are ranking for. That way, I love your advice on just, doing a side-by-side comparison. This is us, this is them, where do we stack up, so you know where to highlight, what to work on, what to sort of get out there, and the information to be shared through these search engines certainly makes a big difference in your product findings, discoverability.
If you don't have a mind map of your product, of your industry, of your market, you're just going to get lost. It's an old adage there, and like I love using BuildShit for this because I can visually build out and map out all of the content around different topics and feed all of that information to LLMs like ChatGPT. because then I can actually know what's being fed into the knowledge base. I can hierarchically compile it, list it, and give LLMs access to greater data sets that are really organized well. We're also working with Silver Creek Insights. We love their data team, and we love the data science that goes into rankings, to understanding products, to understanding markets, to understanding all these things. And LLMs are really horrible at actually mapping out and creating this hierarchical component. It's almost like, instead of understanding their logic, they just want to present a logic. And when you understand their logic, you're able to get much better responses. I've said this to you over and over, Joe. LLMs are only as good as the data that you feed them. And when that data is really well organized, really well presented, it's really well structured, things just come out a lot better.
And more in your favor. If you can get at the right data, then obviously that can certainly help your end game. So I got a couple of rapid fire questions for you. What are the biggest SEO mistakes that you see, particularly for podcasters, but just for newbies in general?
The spray and pray approach, not knowing what topic you're covering, and then covering the same topic repeatedly without actually assessing and understanding how you have performed in the past.
What are the biggest tools that you swear by? Obviously, SEMrush is your big player. Is there anything, like I did mention Moz keyword, do you like that one? The free Google stuff. What are a few that you swear by?
So I'm not a big Moz guy. I'm a huge fan of Google Search Console. Google Search Console is going to rule everything for organic research. I do love that SEMrush has the embedded Google Search Console tool and access. Screaming Frog is pretty amazing. They have some awesome tools that just outperform everything else. They've really found their market, their niche. I would just encourage people to understand what data is being fed to the different tools that they're using, and really dive into that, because all of those tools are being built by people, and the data that they're being fed is not always the best data. And if you're actually building your own tools and getting into the nitty-gritty of it, you'll do really well. Obviously, Jazz on my team. Jazz is our systems expert, and I always find issues with the data that I'm using. My expected outcomes aren't quite there, and then we're able to develop and build our own, and that's really cool. We have some softwares and some systems that I believe will be purchased by SEMrush in the near future.
Now that's a good idea to have right there. I'm rooting for you on that one. So,
Thanks.
Second to last question: if I wanted to start SEO practices, but say I have zero budget, I'm a small company, I'm a startup, what's the best way to go about that? Obviously, you mentioned the free tier of SEMrush where you can get 10 inquiries daily. Is that the first place you would start, or going to the actual Google console?
I'd go into Google search. I'd search into your market, understand and list out the top 10 players in your market. I'd find the top keywords. So if you're trying to rank for podcasts, I would find the top 5 podcast companies that also look at how they stack up for different search terms like podcast SEO, and I'd break down the different facets or specialization components that I want to rank for on Google. And then I'd do SEO research around the topics on SEMrush, and then start publishing content around them once it's structured and ready. I have a content form. Obviously, you've seen that a few times. And my content form looks something. Let me pull it up. It starts with a URL, and then the page URL, the title, the meta description, the title tag, the target keywords, the secondary keywords, the intent of the page, the word count, your editorial competitors, a pitch of what you would like the outcome to be, an overall outline of how you'd like the piece of content to look, and then I'd also look into the people also ask SERPs and some of the FAQs. I'd really understand things before I go into SEMrush, because SEMrush is a powerful tool. It's going to skew what you're presenting, and if you don't have an idea of what you're presenting and how you want to present it, you're not going to be differentiated enough. And Joe, we really want to create unique content, not repetitive and rhyming content with everything else that's out there. And when you do create that unique content, when it does have that personalized touch, you can create much better outcomes. So don't allow the SEO tools to affect your outcome as much as a lot of people do. That's one of the mistakes people make, is allowing SEO tools to fix the outcome. You should have a desired outcome, hit that desired outcome, and have some keynotes along the way.
So ideally, better data going into it and a better realization of what you're trying to accomplish in the first place, as opposed to worrying too much about tool A versus tool B. Just have a more clear picture of what you're doing, and then the rest will kind of fall into place.
Yeah, if you're not a industry expert, become an industry expert first, and then start publishing content. It will show up in your content, and you'll have a really hard time ranking and being a feature in the top 10 on Google.
Absolutely. Great advice. And what is the current future of SEO, the trends you see that are going to really be the most dynamic that people need to understand from, today moving forward into the next couple of years? What's going to be the big trend you see?
I think the big trend, I'm going to sound counterintuitive here. Everybody says SEO is dead, SEO is changing. Try to create scare, hype, and be the person to solve that or fix it inside of your organization. I'm going to say SEO really hasn't changed all that much. I was working on a company that does resume writing the other day. I was working on their website, and what I found with their competitors is their competitors had block lists of keywords at the bottom of their website, and they're ranking number 1 for their niche. If the industry isn't competitive, old tactics like keyword stuffing still work. Really understand your market, understand who you're going to head to head against. You aren't going to get penalized if you're the only race car on the track. Just start, just get going. So my trends are that, or I hope that the trend that we're going to see in the future is that more people jump in, more people get involved, and more people start becoming experts in their space and publishing what they know. Free content, free expertise, free knowledge that you're providing to the internet is how LLMs find you, and your organic impressions, your organic click-through rate, all of these things really impact your SEO. So when you're providing high-value content, you're going to get a lot of attention, and you're going to be able to branch out in other topics and other areas inside of your niche. Topical authority is huge. So Joe, if you're publishing free podcast content that people are learning from, receiving a lot of value from, and they're going to keep showing up on your page to keep learning, to keep getting value, you're going to push up the charts for everything podcast related. And when you do that, you're going to have a lot more people coming to Podtopia to get featured, to and also your network's going to grow. You're going to be more authoritative in the space. So just keep showing up. That's what I hope the trend is that more people keep showing up, that they stop looking for quick hacks to get to the top, and they start becoming aware, they start becoming knowledgeable, and they start becoming experts.
Yeah, I love it. And would you recommend just something like a simple blog could be just enough to put that free content on there and just consistency?
Yeah, but actually work in the field. Like, I don't know, you know this about me, Joe. I've worked for so many companies for free, so many people for free, over and over and over, to build the knowledge base that I have, you do need to be paid, but you need to be paid less than you think. You can't expect somebody to support your lifestyle decisions. You need to actually reduce your lifestyle. You need to reduce yourself so that your knowledge can grow. And then once your knowledge grows, you'll be able to grow in your space and in your industry.
Couldn't have said it better myself, my friend. So if people want to find you either at Grow Wild Agency, where they can actually contract you and learn from you and get your insight, where do they go find you? And then where can we find Casa Leo Pet?
Yeah, so Grow Wild Agency is a Google partner. You can find us on the Google Partners list page. You can find us on the SEMrush Partners list page, agency partner. You can find us at growwildagency.com, obviously. You can find us on Instagram at Grow Wild Agency, and you can find us on Twitter at Grow Wild Agency, or X now, I guess. And Casa Leo Pet is casaleopet.com, and you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter as well.
You can also find Grow Wild Agency at podtopianetwork.com under our preferred partners page, because my guy Kaden knows exactly what to do, and he's helped us out on the back end, and we look forward to more and more times when we get to send him things to clean up and make us look better online. So again, SEO is one of those things that, to the guys and gals that don't do it regularly, it seems like, witchcraft, but there's definitely a method to the madness. And when you find someone that's really good at it, make sure you save their number and call them frequently, because guys like this, they're few and far between, but they really can bring your business to the top of those rankings.
It's really cool meeting people who are at the top of their industry too, and you chat with them for 5 minutes and you're like, if I took all of this information, you'd be at the top position at Google for everything in your market. Yeah, it's there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there. Go if you're an SEO interested person or a podcast interested person, go find somebody who's 50 plus and runs an amazing business and help them blow up on some platform. It's going to be harder to get them to share their expertise and to have them realize that the world needs their knowledge, needs their information, than it is going to be to rank their information. Because when even how to fix a plumbing leak, there's I could tell you in a few seconds how many searches a month there are for that. There we go. There are 810 searches a month for how to fix a plumbing leak. And
just think if those turned into clients of yours, what that does for your bottom line. Or if they start to see you as that industry expert, all of a sudden everything around your business, including your social media, your outreach, everything grows by being in that very exclusive list. 810 doesn't sound like a lot, but if half of them turn into clients, that's a lot. So,
but if that's one video, Joe, that takes you 24 hours worth of work, maybe 4 days to publish, you're driving 810 clicks a month, and most of those would be for YouTube videos. You're still going to be paid a few $100s a year for that YouTube generated income. So there's lots of ways to generate income streams in the attention economy we have, and you're also helping people find answers to simple problems.
It's a great way to look at it. And yeah, you're right. But all of a sudden, if it's a couple $100s a year, but you have 300 videos all generating a couple $100s a year, the math starts to work out pretty quickly that you're doing the right thing.
Most definitely. Compound interest is an amazing thing.
Absolutely. Well, guys, this has been Kaden Ewald here on Podtopia Insider. He's your SEO expert. He's a marketing guru, a guy you definitely need to know. Check out Casa Leo Pet, especially if you're a cat owner or just interested in what that's all about. Grow Wild Agency, a preferred partner not only to Podtopia Network, but also a Google and SEMrush agency affiliate. This is the guy that you need to talk to, so make sure to check out growwildagency.com. And of course, always check out podtopianetwork.com for anything podcast related. And while you're doing that, I'll have Kaden boost up my SEO rankings for us as well, because we could all use a little bit of extra work. But Kaden, I appreciate your time today on Podtopia Insider, and can't wait to get back in touch with you and do a follow-up on this and see how things are going.
Thank you so much, Joe.
That's a wrap on this episode of Podtopia Insider. If you found value today, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. For more resources, recommendations, and insider tips, visit podtopianetwork.com. Let's build a smarter podcast, one tool at a time. See you next time on Podtopia Insider.